Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. My name is Muhammad Younas, and I'm the founder and CEO of vFairs, a leading event tech platform for virtual, hybrid, and in person events. I'm really excited for today's conversation because I'm joined by Liz, a true pioneer in the event industry. Liz is a co founder of Club Ichi, a community hub for B2B event marketeers, and the Community Factory, where she helps organizations build thriving communities at their events. Today, we're going to dive into Liz's journey, the future of events, and how we can create communities that stay engaged long after the event is over. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks. Liz, before we get started, I just want to find out like where in the world are you based in? Where do people find you?
I am in the thriving metropolis of Hutto, Texas, which is just north of Austin.
Amazing. Liz, I would like to just start. If you could just tell us a bit more about your journey. What led you to join the event industry?
Yeah, oof, I have no idea. Like most people, I fell into it. But I will say that when I look back on my childhood, I feel like I kind of got pushed in the direction of hospitality and events. My dad traveled the world for his business, and I got to travel with him. So many global experiences staying with families of his coworkers and just kind of experiencing the world through the lens of feeling welcome into a stranger's home. And I think that kind of set the tone. And then my mom, for a little while, worked for a gifting company. So she would set up trade show booths and sell little trinkets to gift shops. And when I was 12 years old, I remember helping her set up the booth and taking orders in the booth and kind of seeing that commerce side of trade shows. And then I went and got a journalism degree and fell into public relations, which of course leaned heavily on events. And that's really, I think, where I fell in love with it. But when my first job out of college at a corporation was in marketing. So I was doing media relations and international marketing and got involved in the user conference, and it really grew from there. So then 20 years in corporate and associations doing events and user conferences and field events and annual conferences. And now I'm addicted.
Liz, again, I follow you on LinkedIn. I saw that you have worked with for some of the biggest organizations out there in the world. I believe IBM and just few others before you founded Club Ichi and the Community Factory. What was a moment or experience that made you realize that this was your calling, that you have to get into your own ventures, whether it's a Community Factory, whether it's a Club Ichi? So just walk me through that career journey from moving from corporate life into becoming more of a co-founder and founding some of these companies.
I think that I've always looked for community. I'm an only child. I've never really felt like I fit in anywhere, as I'm a kid at the adults table and I don't fit. And then I go to school and the kids are having weird conversations that aren't grown up. And so I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. And so I think my entire life I've been creating communities where if I didn't fit into one, then I could create one and bring people in that would fit into mine. And so even in corporate world, I got very involved in communities there and building not just within my team cross functionally, but in employee resource groups and having a leading role in some of those at the corporations I worked at. And then in 2017, some friends and I, Nicole Ashibodu and Tom Spano, started up an event because we had been going to industry events for many, many, many years, and they were the same formula: keynote, breakout, expo, and the only time you get to network is over the evening events or the 15-minute coffee break. And when you get kind of to a senior level in your career, you just want to talk to other professionals and find out how they're solving problems. And it wasn't a format that existed in the industry events. So we created an event that was I describe it as all coffee break. It really let people come together, share what problems they were trying to solve, share their expertise, and we crafted the agenda just based on those conversations. Eventually, that became what is now known as a spontaneous think tank, which is something that we do for companies to bring that peer-to-peer format into their events. But from that experience, people told us that, my gosh, I feel like I formed a new family in the few hours that we were together. And so that just started that feel of community. So in 2022, we got a group together. We rented a ranch out here in Texas, and about 15 people came together and said, you got to turn this into something real. Your company is called the Community Factory and you're doing this for other people. You need to do this for yourselves and bring all of us together. So we launched Club Ichi, and it came from this Japanese phrase, Ichigo Ichi, which means one moment, one time. And that's really what we all try to create with our events, is just that moment that you can never recapture. You can maybe repeat it with other events, but when you get the right people in the right moment together, it's that spark. So that's how Club Ichi came to be. And we really kicked it off in March of 2023. 2023. And then December, we kind of went big and said, we're going to put all of our eggs in this basket. And now it's grown exponentially. We're up to 5,600 members, I believe, now, and growing like crazy.
5,600 people in less than 2 years. That's amazing. I'm going to ask you a few more questions on that one, but I really love the logo behind you. Do you want to quickly explain like what this logo means for our
Yeah,
audience?
it's kind of the stylistic version of the Japanese word ichi, which means one. And that's what we're trying to do. It's not a replacement for anything in the industry. It's that we are one. We are all here to lift each other up. And so we can be that ancillary supplemental community that you can go to outside of your formal education, outside of your formal associations, and just go connect with people thinking outside the ballroom.
Perfect. I have questions both for Community Factory and Club Ichi. I'm going to start with Club Ichi first. So less than 2 years, 5,600. How did you make it happen? It's not an easy thing. Like, again, I'm a member of many organizations, whether it's YPO or Pavilion and a couple of others, right? Very rarely you see that something that is not venture backed. I'm assuming that you guys are not venture backed.
We are not.
That you can have 5,600 people join so quickly. So just tell me,
Yeah.
like, is there a secret sauce, or is it just your personal network? How do you get into the first 100? Forget about 1,000 and 5,000. Getting the first 100 is hard. So just walk me through that
Yeah.
journey. How did you make it
I
happen?
mean, it's one of those, we like to joke about being a 10-year overnight success. So it didn't just say plant the flag and all of a sudden you get a bunch of people. We've been laying the groundwork for 20 years of building our network and, offering value throughout the time. But then when we decided to truly launch Club Ichi, it was personal network. That's where it starts. It's LinkedIn outreach. It's friends. It's people that are in your cell phone that you can text and say, we're doing this thing. Do you want to join in? And then we did in December of 2023, we decided to go ridiculously crazy. One of our founding members, David T. Stevens, said, you know what, you guys should do a telethon, like PBS style, when they would do these day-long crazy telethon things. So we're like, sounds really stupid. Let's do it. So we did a 12-hour live broadcast telethon where we went to a studio in Scottsdale, got some friends to come together and put on all of the AV pieces. We got over 75 speakers to come in and speak between 5 and 30 minutes and just ran it back to back to back for 12 full hours. We got 500 members that day just
Oh my
joining
God.
us, to see what ridiculousness was happening. And, the average viewer was on with us for about 3.5 hours, which is insane for a virtual program,
That's
right?
like 3 movies back to back. That's
Right. Yeah. And some they would drop out and drop back in and come in, but you could see the cumulative time. It was incredible. And so we're like, okay, this telethon thing feels like, it's energetic and it's fun and we need to do this a couple of times. So we're going to do it again in December and have a great time with it. But that's what we like to try to do is what's something that people aren't thinking of, something that's maybe even a nostalgic way of looking at things that we can bring to life and experiment. I think that we try to be a place of inspiration and not just education. And that's what we're trying to do for the community is try things.
wow. Again, I have never heard of this before, but this is mind blowing to get the community started. And again, just I'm trying to figure it out. Like, so when you did this telethon for 12 hours, so many speakers, were you broadcasting it on LinkedIn? Were you broadcasting it on Zoom? How did you get the word kind of spread out of this is going to happen? Because this is something that I have never heard in the events industry, like someone doing it for 12 hours.
Yeah, we pretty much broadcast it everywhere. I mean, we had a platform called Excel Events. They let us use the platform for it. So that's where we built everything out. We also had it on YouTube. And then we broke it up into clips because, no one's going to go back and rewatch 12 hours. And so we did individual clips. We took the audio from those clips and put it on as podcast episodes that people could listen to later. We took every segment and put it on our YouTube channel at Club Ichi TV. So people can go back and catch the ones they want. And the content ranged from, we made up ridiculous games. There was one called the Data Game that was built out like the old style dating game. We had one event marketer and 3 people representing leads, MQLs, and SQLs, and she had to ask questions and pick which one she was going to take home to her sales leader. It was just fun little segments. We did one that was rapping about event strategy, where our guests were wrapping Christmas presents while they had a strategic conversation, TikTok style, but
Yeah.
with corporate content.
And then walk me through the journey. Like this was back in 2023. Like this,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're getting started. This is like the way to get first 500, first 1,000 people become part of
Yep.
this. Amazing. So you join. You as a someone who's interested in this, and you become a member of Club Ichi. Like, what do people get by becoming a member of it? And again, are there different tiers? Just walk me through just like the
Yeah.
benefit that people get by being a part of this membership. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So Club Ichi is open and available for free to people to join in, and at that free level, you get access to the email list, which gets you invitations to events that we're doing. It gets you, all of the fun activities and locations that we're going to be. We do a monthly sounding board where members can submit a question, and then we hop on Zoom and solve that question and send out the notes to everybody. And they get access to the Slack channel. We're 5 people away from 1,000 people at our recording right now
Yes.
in the Slack channel, which is, it's a choice when you're designing a community of what kind of platform you're going to use. And there are really great community platforms out there, but we made the choice to stick with Slack because most of our target audience are corporate event professionals and they're already using Slack. So rather than forcing them to do kind of a cognitive shift and remember to go to a platform, we use the Slack channel as real quick. I have a problem. I need a solution. It's active and it's right there for your needs. It's not, a resource for templates and things like that. We do have the Club Ichi webpage that has insider resources and things like that. And now you asked about tiers. We do have an insider membership, which is the premium version, where it has additional content that only available to insiders. We offer something called Ichi Academy, which is community members teaching community members. And it's an incredible group of people that are volunteering their time and their knowledge to share things like how to build a 12-month rolling event portfolio strategy. What
Nice.
marketing measurements do you need to be capturing to build out your dashboard? Networking for introverts. And that's all free for insiders. And then it's pay as you go if you're part of the free community. So, a number of opportunities to get involved. And then on the partner side, we have some strategic partners. And then we're building out so much more media, TV show style content formats. I would say, and we can talk about this in the community factory side too, the way that we see communities being built, we view it as fans and locals. That's kind of our two categories of community members. The locals, they're in it. They need something, they want to give something, they want to get something, they share things, they join things, and they're there all the time. The fans, though, they love you, they're watching, but maybe they can't be in everything. Maybe they can't join everything, but they are 100% in full belief that they are part of your community. So you cannot ignore them and you can't just view them as your audience. They believe they're in the community, so you have to create content and provide for them. And that's what we're trying to build out for Club Ichi, people on every part of that fan to local journey.
Uh, I'm not sure if you track it or not, but these 5,600 people, where are they based? Are they all from Texas area, just the US area, or are they all over the world? So tell me a
Our
bit.
5,000 community members, they're all over the world. We have, I would say, primarily North America. So we have a lot of US and Canada. We do have close to 15% are in Europe. And then we have 8 incredible humans in Australia, which, poses a time zone challenge, but, but they're there for us.
And so you mentioned, again, for the first year, again, they can post a question and then you kind of try to find a solution for that once
Yeah.
a month. Is that a live thing that's happening where people can see the brainstorming version of you reading a question and trying to answer that question, or does it happen offline? Tell me a bit more about that once
Yeah.
a month. Is it a webinar? Is it a virtual event? Tell me a bit more on that one.
Super simple. It's just come on the Zoom. And here's the question of the month. Jump in the Zoom. We don't record it because it does become real raw conversation sometimes, but we do take notes. And so if you're in the Slack channel, we put the notes on here was today's sounding board question, and here were some of the solutions that the group came up with.
Perfect. Okay, no, straight. And again, just see, I'm assuming that with community factory, let's come to community factory. With community factory,
Yeah.
are you helping your customers more with just in-person events, or is it a combination of in-person, hybrid, and virtual? So just want to see the breadth of the kind of events that you typically help your customers with.
So it's full community strategy and figuring out how you're going to engage an audience to keep them engaged in between those events that you may be running. Quite often for us, it starts with we get brought into an in-person or virtual event to drive peer-to-peer conversation. And then those people say, oh my gosh, I feel like I created a community here. How do I keep it going? But we have a construct that we call the 5 S's. It's the show, the site, the series of gatherings, the sounding board, and the shareable moments. And so you don't have to have all 5 of those to have a thriving community, but it's a framework that we like to use. So the show is, what is your top of funnel experience for people who may not be in your community, but want to know about it and for them to find out that you even exist. So this, your podcast, or it could be a YouTube show or a TikTok, or it could even be a LinkedIn newsletter. Whatever's going to be out there where you can take stuff in your community and share it with others so they can join in. The next level is the site. an asynchronous location for people to get together and talk to each other. Slack channel, Facebook group, LinkedIn group, whatever's right for your group. It could be a real platform like a Mighty Network or Circle, whatever's going to be right. And we would go through that strategy with you. And then the series of gatherings. So this is online or in person. The world is a remote world. Online, virtual events and programs are vital to the success of a community. People have to be able to get together without having to invest in travel and the time away from home. And then in person, of course, whether it's ancillary with third-party events or it's your own proprietary things, people want to get together. That's why they joined your community. Then we have the sounding board, which for us, we're using it as problem solving, but we also, when we're building communities for companies, the sounding board is those 5 to 7 people who are really your inner circle. If you're an association, it's your board of directors. If you're a private community or company, it's like your top 5 clients that are really going to give you input and insights into the content that you're creating and make sure that your community is going to serve them because they are your cohort. And then finally, the shareable moments. And that's taking all of that content that happens inside your community, turning it into something that community members can share so they feel like they're part of something and they're sharing out something they got access to, makes them look better.
Let's see. I'm in the event tech industry, and again, I have done a couple of other startups. Pretty much have been in different roles, and I believe that the job of just event planner is the toughest job that I have ever been into. Right? I've been an event planner myself before I became a CEO of technology platform. See, just running an event itself is hard, but what's even more harder is to convert it into a community.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not sure if there are any secret tips and tricks, because I also believe that it varies from one company to another, strategy to another. But if someone just wants to, and again, I see a lot of players in our industry, including us, who wants to convert that event that has happened in our platform, help our customers convert it into a community. The technology might be there, but it's really about the execution of how you actually make it happen.
Yeah.
If you have to just pick up, I don't know, top 3 to 5 points of how to actually make it happen. You talked about the sounding board. I love that, and I totally agree with you. When you talk to your 5 top customers, or let's say if there's a session, your 5 board members. But just tell me a bit more on technology side as well as on execution side. If someone is starting now watching this podcast, of how I can take my people that are joining my event and convert that into a community, here are the 3 to 5 things that you should think about, both from a technology perspective, but more importantly from an execution perspective, a strategy perspective. What would those things could be? Because I see companies failing at this all the time. Not that they don't try, they try, but they don't see that initial momentum in the beginning, and they just lose hope. So
Right.
not everyone can do a 12-hour marathon or telethon.
Right.
Just walk us a bit of those
I
secret tips.
think from the very beginning, you have to figure out the strategy. What kind of community is it? Because there are 3 kinds we really look at. It's a community of product, a community of practice, or a community of purpose. So if you are a software company and you are building a community, is it a community of product because you want the people that are already users to be able to help each other out? For you as a company, this could be to remove a layer of support. So maybe you don't need as many support people because you've got your users helping each other. Or is it a community of practice, which takes you up a level from the product and allows you to bring prospects into the community? So if your event tech platform is specifically for registration, let's say, then you want to bring in people who are registration managers for events. And then it's a practice community, and they can talk about other things in there, and you're not going to bar them from talking about competitors as well, but you're going to provide some guidelines and allow that conversation to flourish. And then you've got the community of purpose, which is maybe advocacy or like a 501c3 nonprofit type of thing. You're trying to change the world. But in any case, the biggest mistake that people make when they decide which community they want is they forget to put a face on it. No one wants to join a faceless community that's just some big corporation unless it's a transactional relationship. Like I may join the Sephora community because I get discounts on makeup, but I don't really care that I'm in touch with one of the beauty influencers or whatever. But when it's something like, especially a community of practice, you have to have a face, someone that people can relate to, someone people can, even if you don't get direct access with that person, think of Tony Robbins, right? I'm not going to actually get involved with Tony Robbins. I don't have that kind of money. But when you're in that community, you feel like they're part of it, and he's the reason you are attracted to it. And you have to think about that when you build your communities too. That's why I think most of them fail, is people forget that we're attracted to people, not companies.
I love that part. I still want to talk a bit more about community effective, but I just have one question that I thought about.
Yeah.
Club Ichi. Building a community is hard. I have tried
Yes.
it. And again, as I said, I'm part of a lot of other communities as well. But what's even more harder is to keep them engaged.
Mhm.
How do you do that? Because I think, getting the first 1,000 or 5,000, it's impossible, but you have made that possible. But to make sure
Yeah.
that they actually remain engaged, because community is as good as the people in it and the people who are engaged in it. So just walk
Yeah.
me through this, some of the best tips and tricks of how do you make it happen, and where do you see Club Ichi just going in the next couple of years? Just what's in it for the members? What will keep them excited just be a part of it continuously for the coming years?
Right. I think that, again, back on strategy, you do have to decide up front what you're going to be happy with as far as levels of engagement go, because in general community conversations, only 10% of your community members will truly actively be engaged day to day. And 1% are really your thriving inner circle of people that are going to help you grow it. And you have to either be okay with that or decide what you are okay with. But I think that it's really meeting people where they are and providing a variety of content. So when I talk about fans and locals, I know that my locals want to be in the Slack channel. They want to come to the conversations. They're going to come to as many in-person events as they can. They're going to tell everybody about it. But my fans, they believe they are engaged community members when they're watching something on demand because it was on their time. But I provided something of value to them, and they're able to actually enjoy that whenever they can. And they'll tell people about it whenever it's relevant to share that with other people. So the engagement is such a crazy, terrible, horrible word that it's as amorphous as the word community or experiential. I think it's just about defining it. So I like to view engagement as cognitive, behavioral, and emotional. And when we determine what we're trying to do, cognitive engagement is we want to teach people something. We want them to leave having, learn something they can go implement in their business. Behavioral, that may be, gosh, I want to grow my membership. So I need this many people to share or comment or be involved and get other people involved. And then emotional is I want them to feel that loyalty. I want them to want to tell people about it. And so those are the metrics that you set and go grow with. But I think my one other one, we love frameworks. And my other one is the 5 C's to connection. And I think this is kind of the construct of how we build out things we do. And it is care, collaborate, co-create, converse, and connect. And if you can create programs that do these things, you're going to catch the people in there. So care is we have to care. If we're just building this community to make money and not do anything else, then the people can feel that because we're NASCARing and monetizing every silly little thing. But if you truly care about the well-being of your community members, they're going to feel that too. And I think that's really been our shining star for Club Ichi. The collaborate piece is allowing people to connect and helping them get together to actually share those challenges and those solutions so that they can find a common ground. But co-create is when you actually get them together to go solve something together or build something new together. We do a lot of programs where we invite people to come in and volunteer to be a part of it because it's something that they want to stretch their skill muscles at, or it's something that they've never been a part of before and they're excited to try it without having to kind of take that risk at work. So we can help them do that. And then converse. Most, I would say, if not all of our events have a conversation piece to it. We don't just do the webinar type of thing, that we let people come in, be part of the community. If there's comments like on this one being broadcast, if there's people commenting here on LinkedIn, we want to be right there in the chat with them. We want to be part of that conversation. And then the connection part. A lot of people say that they want to create community or they want to create an event to drive connection. But if you don't do those first 4, connection just can't happen. You have to help design for it. And once you've done those 5, well, poof, you accidentally created a community. Now you got to
That
see if you want to keep it going.
absolutely. And let's just again see you are interacting with hundreds and thousands of people as part of your job. Just what are some key technology trends or even
Mhm.
strategy trends that you're seeing that will
Yeah.
help us connect and engage at events better in the next couple of years? So just walk me through of where this industry is going, and what role technology can play is playing, and just what role. I think the more technology is, the more we want to become human. We want to stay away from technology as well. Just walk me through both of those aspects. Just purely where do you see things are going?
Well, I think that the evolution of technology to allow connection has been incredible since 2007, as we all got our smartphones and Facebook and the ability to stay connected. I think the challenge that we have is that what do we constantly say? That we're more digitally connected but humanly disconnected than we've ever been before because we're being pulled in so many different directions. Everything is omni-channel. Wherever I go, it's Slack, WhatsApp, SMS. Like I've got to be on all the time. And so I think I'm hopeful that technology can start to help that. Right now, it's hindering it because we're just drinking from the fire hose all the time. But I think that with right now, AI is also adding to the fire hose, but I feel like it's going to get to the point where it's able to curate what we actually need to see, and it's able to manage the things that we don't need to see in a way that will allow us to focus. That's what I'm really hoping for. Every single day someone reaches out to me on LinkedIn to tell me they've got a new AI networking tool that I should look at. And I'm both excited by and terrified by those, because I do believe in the serendipitous collisions that happen when you're at events and not needing that AI connection. But I also appreciate that AI connection over just the like speed networking or one-on-one or whatever thing. So I think that it's too early to say that it's going to be a solution, but I see that it can be soon. And then I think online tools have to continue to exist and evolve. Online still becomes a little bit more challenging for people to network in, because they're not always set up for people to network in the chats. The people that know how to work it, man, they know how to work it. So I think as humans, we need to jump in there and figure out how can we help people connect more while they're just in a chat and content is being distributed via the video channels.
Yeah. Let's just a bit of a kind of an off-topic conversation. Again, it's just because I'm also part of a lot of those communities. I see that a lot of them are on Slack, and then they
Mm-hmm.
have started pushing us to WhatsApp. And
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like you haven't made that decision for clearly like some obvious reasons. Just tell us like when people should create WhatsApp communities versus Slack communities. Should they be doing both? Because again, as I said, if you start doing everything, then just it can be overwhelming for the audience as well, because then they have to stay connected here as well as
Right.
on WhatsApp, and we all have to be on the emails anyways all the time, right? So
Right.
have you seen when it has worked better on WhatsApp versus Slack and any other form of community?
Yeah, I think you just have to understand your customer's ICP, like who is the ideal client profile that you're going after and where are they? So if you have an international community, then WhatsApp might be the right choice because it is much more widely used outside of the US than in the US. If you like us, we have a very corporate clientele, and so Slack is really great because the majority of corporations are already using it, so they're already there and it's just a channel. If you have another group that you're trying to pull together and you actually need a platform experience where you're going to have resources and templates and it needs to keep everything, like for Slack, for example, we don't have the paid version of Slack. And so after 90 days, old messages are gone. So you can't use it for a resource template. You can't use it to actually house anything useful. It's literally instant messaging conversation for a 90-day period. Whereas WhatsApp, it's going to stay in there forever, but does it really have the kind of searchability that you need for files and images and things like that, where you may need to go to a Circle or a Mighty Network type of platform because things will stay forever. You can have a member directory. You can have a lot more robust community type of experience. So it comes down to really designing who you're going after, how they're going to use it, and how you want to grow.
A bit of a conversation about just the event professionals in general. See, for me, as I said, I've had multiple roles. Started as a software engineer, became a product manager, CEO, managed different companies, managed different ICPs, including the event professionals. And for me, the job of event professional is extremely tough. And the reason I say that is that once that event has been announced, you cannot take a sick leave, whatever happens in your personal life, really, nothing can delay that particular event, right? So
Yeah.
as someone who has such a vast career in the event industry, what common challenges do you see event organizers face today? And just
Yeah.
like, what would your recommendations be for someone who is excited about this role? Again, as I said, from my perspective, I see, and again, that's what we typically say within our company, like I have the most empathy for this role just because I believe that this event planner organization, they work extremely hard. And sometimes maybe they're not as fancy in terms of a job role as maybe sometimes a digital marketer or let's say a software engineer, someone who's trying to get into, picking a job or a degree. What would your suggestions for them would be? And just your, just again, few cents on where do you see this particular role is going to go over the next couple of years, purely in terms of its impact and everything else?
Yeah, I think it's something that we can really learn from the Gen Z and Gen A folks that are coming up, which is boundaries. Those of us who've been in this industry for years, we unfortunately or fortunately have that servant leadership type of role where we just want to do and help and say yes all the time. And that's where we're burning ourselves out. And then we've set that expectation with our leadership team, with our clients, with everyone else in the organization that we're going to be here to answer everything at all times. And I think that the younger generation coming in is like, seeing their parents work themselves to death and go, actually, I'm going to take my weekends. And if I was just traveling for 7 days, I'm going to take a couple days off. We Gen Xers aren't really good at doing that. So I think that we're going to have to become better at doing that. It is a stressful job. It is not going to get any less stressful. And I think that the omni-channelness of everything is going to continue to get worse before it gets better. So we have to set those boundaries. We have to put do not disturb on, and we have to be able to step away. It's a real challenge that I think everyone is feeling. And then there's the conversation around the toxic workplace and the psychological safety and the pressure that people are putting on themselves and their teams to make this happen. So psychological safety training is something that part of our community called Event Minds Matter is really advocating for, making sure that leaders understand, recognize when they can see that their team members are in distress and help make sure that they can support them through that.
Liz, great points. I just want to maybe better understand of just how we can make it happen. See, we work with
Mm-hmm.
hundreds and thousands of customers. They're extremely nice customers, and I know that both them and both me as a CEO of a company, none of us wants our employees to work over the weekend or overtime.
Right.
But the challenge that we all face is that, oh, by the way,
Is that we have to.
yeah, something has come up after 6 p.m. and it's not a website launch that, okay, you know what, I can delay by a day or by 2 days.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a podcast recording that, you know what, okay, if I don't record today, I can record it tomorrow, right? It's an
Yeah.
event that has been announced, hundreds and thousands of dollars have been spent in terms of
Right.
marketing, etc. Everyone has really high expectations with the brand and so forth. So
Yeah.
maybe walk me through just the planning aspect of it, of how
Mhm.
one can make it happen, both from a customer perspective as well as a vendor perspective, because I know that none of these people mean anything bad for the employees or for the customers
Sure.
or vendors. It's just that sometimes there's just no choice. And there's just nothing that any one of us can do in order to avoid that. So tell me,
Yeah.
like, what is maybe your definition of event, planning a perfect event where none of this is just required? Because I know that this is not done intentionally. It's just the nature of the job that leads us all there.
Right. Well, let me tell you, my perfect scenario is that you have a thriving community that is active all year long so that when you launch the announcement that you're having an event, your community runs in, they buy their tickets immediately, they all hit their hotel room block on time, room block is full, event is sold out, and now you have the perfect timeline 4 weeks out to just communicate, communicate, communicate. That's the perfect scenario. The reality is your room block cuts off 30 days before the event, but people don't register until 12 days before the event. So you have a whole lot of attrition to now cover off of, or you're going to have to go through the list and see the people that booked outside the block and see if you can get them inside the block. And 2 weeks out, you're trying to decide, okay, if nobody's registered for the event, do we now start giving it away for free? Did we cancel the whole thing? Do we raise the prices? What do we do? How do we get people in the door? It's a nightmare. So I think that it really does come down to trying to create a timeline, which honestly, the most surprising thing that I've seen lately is that people aren't actually making those timelines anymore. They'll make them for their event team and they'll know that there are deadlines, but they're not working cross functionally or cross organizationally to make sure everyone knows that the timelines exist and why they exist. That's the most important part. And unfortunately, as we know from corporate, it's our executives quite often that are the ones missing the deadlines more than anyone. But if you can get the executive admins on your side and help make sure that time is blocked and that deadlines are actually in the executives' calendars so they understand what needs to be done. And it's not just the deadline that something's due, it's a time block on their calendar to do the work so they
Yep.
can give it to you. Trying to put those things together. I know it's hard and it's very stressful, but we just have to communicate with each other a little bit more, which yet again is just adding to the noise. This is one of the key pieces that I heard recently was We used to say that it takes 7 touch points to make someone take an action. And they're saying with research now, it's taking up to 18 to 21 touch points to get someone to take action, which means we're just causing more noise by sending even more messages, which makes it even less likely they're going to take action. So at some point, we've got to hit the tipping point and get back to the, okay, you've reached out to me 7 times. I'm going to pull the trigger on this. And internally, I think it's the same thing. It's not just our customers we're trying to get to register for the event. It's our speakers. We need you to turn in your profile. We need you to turn in your bio. We need you to turn in your slides, all these things. And building out that you have to have someone dedicated to those attendee communications, speaker communications, exhibitor communications, and really having a touch point so that those work streams can have someone on point. And this is a challenge, I think, that you're coming back to that of layoffs. We're cutting staff, but we're not actually cutting the amount of things we're doing. And so now we have a team that used to be 7 down to 3 event managers doing all of those things. No wonder they're stressed and burnout.
Yeah.
There's got to be a release valve somewhere.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, see, sometimes as we work with these event planners, like I can see the amount of hard work that they're doing. And, that's why sometimes when they're reaching out to us after work or over the weekends, like, you just want to help them because you know that they're trying with the amount of work. And I just Liz, we have been doing this for over 10 years, almost 20 years. It looks like you must have done this with in-person, with the work, with the office work setup. And it looks like to me, from the green screen and everything else, that you might be doing a lot of this remotely as well. Tell me, is the remote nature of this work helping event planners, or is making their job even tougher? Because previously they could have just walked into the door of the CEO and said, "Oh, by the way, this is pending from you." But now they have to have those 7 to 18 touch points in order to get attention, sometimes from their own team members, right? So just tell me a bit more on that. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, I have the controversial take of I really believe in office work. I've always been an office girl. I love being in the office. Those, again, spontaneous collisions of seeing someone in the office cafeteria or in the hallway and being able to just grab someone's time without it having to be a 30-minute scheduled meeting. I love it. I love the energy of it, and I love the collaboration that comes from it. That being said, I fully embrace the remote world. You and I wouldn't be having this conversation if we couldn't be remote. And half the people that I'm friends with, I wouldn't be friends with if remote didn't exist. But so I think that's where events actually come into play. And if you do have a fully remote workforce, being able to budget in for times for your teams to get together, and not just your event team, but the cross-functional teams that are also contributing to it, so that you can have these little summits once a quarter, twice a year, whatever it is. Nothing beats those in-person connections. Yes, I had amazing conference call relationships with people all over the world when I worked at Dell, but when I actually got to go to their office in the UK or their office in Italy or whatever and be with them, everything changed. So I think that if we can really push those budgets to bring travel back, to bring people together, I do think that you can have a much more smooth event.
Yeah, and Liz, just for the community, whether it's Club Ichi members, etc. What are your top 3 to 5 events that you believe that like an event professional should definitely join? I know that IMEX is really like everyone's favorite, etc. But if you have to pick, I know top 3 to 5 that change your perspective about the events industry and everything else, what would that be?
You know what? I think it would be events outside of our industry. I do think that IMEX is incredible because it is 15,000 people that, it's like our giant industry neighborhood block party. Everyone from every association and organization comes together, brings their expertise, has this incredible 3-4 days together, and then goes back out into the world. So I think that that's an incredible one. But looking outside of that industry at things like HubSpot, looking at AWS reInvent, looking at Dreamforce, looking at Money 2020, these things, heck, the world of concrete. Some of these events are just so incredible to see how people bring their message and story to life and how they're interacting with their specific target audience. You can get so many great ideas. SaaStr is another really great one. It's just the creativity abounds in some of these. And I think oftentimes we stick with only going to events in the event industry, and we're just preaching to the choir and seeing the same stuff over and over again. And that's how we get bored with our industry. But look outside of it, get inspiration from it, go to festivals, go to your children's PTA meeting. I guarantee you will come back and go, wow, there's a lot of stuff I could do better. Go to a church, some random church you've never been to, and see what they do on a Sunday. Like, wow, I could add a band on stage at my keynote. Like, you come up with these great ideas from everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. See, I've always been attending SaaStr, a big fan of it. First time I'm going to attend HubSpot inbound. It always happens at the same time. This time I said, okay, I'm going to skip SaaStr. I'm going to go and HubSpot join. Our team recently attended the Tony Robbins one, which they were providing the technology for the Tony Robbins one. And again, it was They were sending me videos, and it was mesmerizing. The kind of
Oh my
energy
gosh, I'm
that
dying to go to one of those. I want to go
yeah,
with you next time.
and again, just something that was like something that I have never seen in my entire life. So I have watched the
Hmm.
show, but when you are actually part of that event, whether
Yeah.
it's a member, whether it's a service provider, you realize the true magic of what the. I think I absolutely agree with you. Attending events
Yeah.
sometimes outside industry just makes you think from a very different angle. Uh,
Hmm.
you have been very just generous with your time. I just have a few more questions, and we'll try to wrap it up. Just looking back on your journey, what are some of the key moments that you are most proud of in your career? I can already
Yeah.
see that it's going to be very hard for you to pick one, but if I had to say, just pick one or two, what would those be?
Wow. Okay. So I was fortunate enough to be the person in charge of creating event at Dell World for the event team at Dell in 2011. And we jumped all in. It was a very small event. It was, I want to say, 1,500 people that very first year, but we started even with a virtual program of that too. We had a virtual trade show, a very fairs type of experience in there when we began it, and grew that over the years. So I remember that moment when we first had that Dell World, and Michael Dell stood on stage and looked out at the audience and said, "Look around you, because next year this event will be 3 times as big." And I went, called the convention center and said, "Can I get the whole convention center next year?" I didn't know. So
Yep.
that was a fun one. And then in 2019, we did the world's first secret business trip where we invited 80 experiential marketers to meet us at JFK Airport, bring a passport, pack for 6 days, and we told them nothing else. And when they arrived at the airport, we revealed that we had chartered a plane to Tuscany, and we
I
whisked our 80 people away to this 6 day spontaneous think tank, truffle hunting, pasta making, crazy, amazing, insane experience. So that one was pretty good. And then I don't know, there's just so many fun things that we've done. We did in Club Ichi, we worked with MGM Resorts to create this behind the scenes experience because, every event professional, when you say we're going to do an event in Vegas, they're like, come on, every event's in Vegas. You can't possibly show me Vegas without me knowing it. Like, haha, challenge accepted. So we created this experience for 20 Club Ichi members who went to Las Vegas. We got to go to the MGM prop and decor warehouse to see where they keep all the stuff for all their events and all their decorations. And we got to put together this whole experience. It was like a scavenger hunt where we had to propose an event using their stuff. And then we went and ate in the Aria employee cafeteria. We saw the uniform control center where they get 9,000 uniforms and ready every day for their employees. And then we went to the Bellagio fountain pump room and met with the emergency pump repair guys. And they put us on a barge and we got to go out on the Bellagio lake behind the fountain. And then they did a fountain show just for us. So these are the kind of things that we love to put together, just a little bit outside of the box, and have a great time.
This, I love when you said, like, back in 2011 you did something like a virtual events. Like, see, we have been doing virtual events and now in-person events also for a long time, but virtual events we have been doing it for almost over a decade. And every time
Mm-hmm.
I introduce vFairs, they're like, "Oh, did you start only in COVID?" I was like, people were doing virtual events even before COVID. We
That's
were
right.
doing 50, 100% every year leading up to the COVID. COVID gave us a great,
Mm-hmm.
great boost. But I always tell people that, people have been doing virtual events even before that, not just during COVID.
Yeah, my first one was 2011. So yeah, it's definitely been around.
Last question now. What advice would you give to someone looking to start their own business in the event
Mm-hmm.
technology space or in the event management space, just within the event industry? What's the advice that you want to give it to someone who's listening to this?
Go to events, experience them for yourselves, talk to the people that are going, bring us in or run your own spontaneous think tank to find out what challenges people are trying to solve. Because I think that I see too much technology that's just, they've come up with an idea. One person said it was good, and then they go put it out there, and like, you haven't talked to anyone else. And then they start talking to people, and then they shift their focus. And we were this, and now we're this, we were this. And I get it, product market fit is a thing. But if you're not out there experiencing events or trying to run your own events to understand what goes into it, then it's just going to be software that misses the mark. I think that you have to get in there, and you have to, even again, if it's your own field events, and just going through the process of trying to get audience acquisition, which is the number one challenge with events, trying to get them to register, trying to create an experience. And then don't forget the people part. Because once we're doing events, quite often we are incredible at creating the details of how the event runs. And then once the people get inside the box you built, you forgot that you need someone to facilitate them. And that's really what we try to focus on is you can build a beautiful box, but what do they do when they get in the box? So thinking through all of that. And from an event tech side, if your tech can help with that and not force people on their phone the whole time they're with the people, but actually augment their humanness and allow them to connect, all the better.
Absolutely. Liz, I can totally see why. thousands of people of Club Ichi, and I mean it is like they're a fan of yours, and I'm sure that your clients must love you for it. If someone wants to contact you either for Community Factory or Club Ichi or just to follow you, I follow you on LinkedIn, but just like how people can reach out to you, like what's the best way for them to again be in touch with you?
Yeah, probably the best way is LinkedIn. I'm Liz Lathan on LinkedIn, and you can get all of my contact information there. And once you join Club Ichi at weareichi.com, then you can get into the Slack channel, and I'm there all the time too. Easily accessible, love having conversations, making new friends, and we're going to rule the world, man.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you, everyone who's listening to it. Again, if you want to reach out to Liz, just follow her on LinkedIn, connect with her on LinkedIn. And again, if you want to take the help of Community Factory to help you, build thriving communities for your events, Liz is the person you want to be in touch with. Thank you very much, Liz. Up until next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.